Hoi hoi folks, good morning, good afternoon and good evening wherever you are in the world. My name's Sean, aka Uncle Frogface, and welcome to today's video. If you're new here, then welcome. If you're not new, then welcome back. So I've given it a couple of days grace and a couple of days rest, but Inktober has finished. I actually completed it all this year, not on every single day. I got through every prompt, so you know, I'm pleased with that. But how did you get on? Did you participate in Inktober this year? Did you do all the prompts? Did you miss any out? You know what? It actually doesn't matter whether you did all of the prompts, half the prompts, two of the prompts, even just one of the prompts. You should be really proud of what you have done. Today, I am going to go through all of my drawings with the prompts for Inktober 2023. Just have a little bit of a look and see how I did, a few thoughts on some of the prompts and the images as well, how I think I went. Obviously leave your comments down below as well on how you think I went, if there are any particular pictures that you enjoyed. Then I'm going to be taking it a little bit further and showing you what you can do now that you've got these images just laying around. How can we further expand on Inktober and take it a little bit further? So without further ado, let's flip things around, let's get stuck into these images and see how I did with Inktober 2023. Okay, so let's have a little bit of review of the prompts of the month and the pieces of artwork that I have done. And you can see from the first one that this is not going to be to everyone's taste. There are going to be some things in there that might be a little bit gruesome or a little bit risque even, but we're going to go through and I'm going to have a bit of a talk about what I like, what I didn't like, some of the prompts as we go along. So a lot of these pictures I actually really enjoyed. I enjoyed Inktober this year and I think I made some actually fairly decent sketches and pieces of art. There are definitely some that I'm not such a fan of. This first one though, this is my Freddy Krueger, so the prompt was Dream. And actually, in terms of the design, this is very me. It's very elongated. It's odd angles. I enjoyed doing this one. However, I did this in a sketchbook, which is the kind of sketchbook that I've used before. It's one of these Crawford and Black ones. And for pencils and for biros, they're actually very good. But as soon as you start using quite wet ink, not good at all. And I immediately made the switch to a cardstock instead. So this was prompt 1, Dream. Then we had this one, this was spiders, and I decided to do just this cute little wolf spider sketch. I really enjoyed that one. Sorry for any arachnophobes out there, but this was fun. I felt like I was getting into my stride a little bit by the second day. Then I decided to spend a little bit of time, so this one was Path. And I wanted to really push myself, so all of these pictures I've done using a mix of fine liners, brush pen and alcohol markers in grey tones, usually just with 3 colours of alcohol marker. But I just wanted to see what I could actually do with those and spend a little bit of time, and this is, I think, one of my favourite pieces. I really enjoy doing this one. It's a departure from the kind of thing that I've done with inks in the past, and I think it turned out very well and a style that I actually really like. Next was Dodge. This was day 4, so I did a jammy dodger, a fairly simple one there. The next one I really enjoyed, this was Map, so I decided to do my own little map of Neverland, and I did this using a combination of the rice technique and knowledge of the book. So I know obviously you've got Cannibal Cove, Mermaid Lagoon, the Indian camp is on a little cliff to the side, so I dropped rice on and then I just kind of shifted it around into a vague shape, but then use the rice grains itself to make the map. If you want to see a kind of tutorial on map making with rice, let me know. I particularly like Skull Rock up here, but yeah, let me know and I will I'll do a little tutorial if that's something you're interested in. Next we had Golden, and this is a golden lion-headed tamarind. It's okay. It's I like wildlife art and I enjoy doing it, and for me this wasn't a great picture. I don't think the golden nature of it lends itself to being an ink drawing. I think the study is okay, but not one of my favourites. Then we had Drip. So I had to do Wade from Elemental. I watched that film and I just absolutely loved it, and he's such a fun character. So yeah, this was a really fun and a quick one to do as well. I like cartoons because they are fairly quick. Next was Toad. So I decided to try a little bit more wildlife art and something that maybe lends itself a little bit better to ink work, and did this Toad instead, which actually I'm fairly pleased with. I think it could have done with a little bit of white pen in here as well around the feet, maybe to differentiate it just a tad on the Toad. But yeah, I really enjoyed this Toad. The next one is Bounce, and this is basically an exercise used for animation. So I don't talk about it very often, but I have studied theoretically animation for years. I love the science behind animation and the timing, and it works quite well with kind of a musical brain as well, that you have that same kind of timing and rhythm and suspense. So I really enjoy animation. It's something that I'm practicing on my own, in my own time, doing little things, and this is one of my favourite exercises. It's simply making a ball bounce, and I've practiced making balls bounce across different things and over objects and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's all about the squish and the stretch of the ball and the spacing that gives the timing. So this was my bounce piece, a little bit more academic, but I enjoyed this one as well. Next one was Fortune. And I kind of wanted to do the sign for a fortune teller. I can imagine this hanging outside a tent somewhere, or being a little A-frame stand with a gypsy fortune teller's tent. So fortune's told, sees all, knows all, fate, money, success, love, know your fate. This is a fun afternoon one to do, just a quick doodle again. This one is actually a study of a classical piece of artwork. So the prompt was Wander, which is, I believe this painting is called Wander in the Mist. So I just wanted to see, just using tone, how accurate I could get it and how close to the original. And I'm actually very pleased with this one. I really like how this turned out. Again, it's a little bit of a quicker sketch, but I like the contrast between the white at the top and the black at the bottom, and the silhouette of the guy in the middle. I think it's a really nice composition. It's probably why it's such a famous piece of artwork as well. Next, this was day 12, and it was spice. So I decided to do my recipe for pumpkin spice, and this is 2 teaspoons of ginger, 3 tablespoons of cinnamon, 1.5 teaspoons of allspice, 2 teaspoons of nutmeg, 1.5 teaspoons of cloves, and I've just literally illustrated the ingredients. I remember my nan having a cookbook growing up that had illustrations like this, so I kind of took inspiration from that. Next one's a little bit gruesome, I'm warning you now. So the prompt was rise, and this is my illustration of the mother through the peephole in Rise of the Evil Dead, which I love the Evil Dead franchise, and I think the new movies really play well into it. And this is more of a kind of caricature, again, a little bit more my style. But again, this is one that I actually rather like for the composition and for the face. I think some of the background elements could have been worked on a little bit more. But yeah, this was a good day for me. Next, we had Castle, and I wanted to push myself a little bit with detail work, and just trying to see how accurate I could get this representation of the Disneyland Paris castle. It actually didn't completely fit on here because there is a little bit of the turret at the top. It has a spire at the very top of that peaked roof. But yeah, this was nice, and again, just doing it in tone work. I think if it was pink, you'd immediately recognise it. So this is me trying to get that recognisable silhouette and detail without colour. Again, I rather enjoyed this one. Next one was okay. This is Dagger. I had the concept. I think the concept is good. It's Macbeth. Is this a dagger I see before me? Wasn't overly keen on the execution, but might be something that I return to in the future. Then we had angels. So I have been plagued by images of biblically accurate angels for the last few years. So this is my kind of tattoo art inspired depiction of a biblical angel. Yeah, if you haven't seen biblical angels, definitely go and look, because they are monstrous but beautiful in the same way. Next was Demon. So I actually reference a book called the Goetia, which is the Lesser Key of Solomon, which has lots and lots of descriptions of demons in there. So this was my depiction of one of those demons. If you want to find out more about this, there's some more detail on the Instagram post for this. All these are posted on Instagram. This is just a quick run through, so I won't go into too much detail on all of them. Next was Saddle. So this is day 18, and this was an elfin saddle fungus, or Helvella lacanosa. I looked at several reference images for this, and I wanted to go a lot darker with some more blacks in the top of this fungus. It's a really interesting shape because you have this very twisted stalk with pitting and holes and veins, and then you just have lots of these like black petals on top that look like little saddles for an elf. So I really like this one. This is one of my favourites, I think. Yeah. So this was Plump, and this is one of those not safe for work images that I was telling you about. Very self-explanatory. We'll move on from there. This is Frost. So Frost, I decided to do a White Walker, but in more of my style, that kind of twisted, creepy, cute thing, pushing it a little bit more caricature. I think I could have gone darker with this. I think this one would maybe benefit from a dark background as well, and definitely some colour, but not a bad one overall. Building on this one, for the next one, I wanted to go character again, but I wanted to push myself. I didn't want to go cartoon. I didn't want to go realistic. I wanted to go for the next one, which is Chains, in more of stop motion animation style, so kind of Nightmare Before Christmas, Paranorman, that kind of style. And this is my Jacob Marley, so you can see all the chains down there. And again, I really enjoyed the character in this one. I think there's a lot of character in the face, but I think it just needs some colour, and it needs a bit of a background to it. It needs popping out from the white page a little bit more. Love this one. But yeah, needs a little bit more work. Next was Scratchy. Very self-explanatory, because this is Scratchy. I think this one took me 15, maybe 20 minutes in total. It was a very, very quick drawing indeed. After Scratchy, we had Celestial, and one of my favourite pieces. So this is Nowhere. This is the base of the Guardians of the Galaxy from the Marvel comic books, which is in the head, the severed head of a Celestial. So this is my depiction of it, and I thoroughly enjoyed doing this one. I love comic book art, I love comic books, and this one was just really, really a lot of fun to do. And this is definitely one that I want to take further and work on even more with some colour and some background art. But yeah, that was my Celestial. Next is Shadow, and back to wildlife art. We have a flamingo stood in some shallow water. Very simple but nice and effective. I like the silhouette of this one. After Shallow, we had Dangerous. So Andrew and I have just finished watching for the first time all of Gravity Falls. So I thought I would do a Bill Cipher. Trust No One. So this is my little Bill Cipher depiction. I love Bill. I think he's an amazing character, a lot of fun. After Dangerous comes Remove. So this is the golden idol from Indiana Jones, which he definitely should not have removed because, well, no spoilers because it's a very old film, but yeah, that very large boulder chasing him. So definitely do not remove this idol if you see it. Next we had Beast, and comic book again. This is my depiction of Hank McCoy, Beast from the X-Men. I again really enjoyed this one. I think it's a really strong silhouette. Maybe could do with a little bit of colour because obviously he's very bright blue, but just a good character study. I enjoyed doing this one. The next one is Sparkle, and I decided to do something different. You can see it behind here. I did black paper and white ink over the top of it. So this time of year you get lots of spider webs and dew glistening on them. And again, I think the concept of this one is sound, but I'm not a fan of the execution of it. This is definitely bottom of the tier for me. It's not one that I enjoyed at all. So we'll move on very swiftly to Massive. And does it come more massive than the Death Star? This is my little cartoony illustration of the Death Star. Again, really like this because you're thinking about the shape of it and actually how all of the parts work across a sphere. So that was a lot of fun. After Massive is Rush. So my little Sonic the Hedgehog down here, rushing along very quickly with a gold coin in his hand. And then finally, another of my favourite pieces, and again it's a comic book one, the final prompt, day 31 of Inktober 2023, was Fire. So I did the Ghost Rider, and this is my Ghost Rider picture, all of those flames there, chain across his chest. And again, I played more with black in this one. I wanted to really pop that fire out, so I gave it a black background as well. So that is a very quick-ish whistle-stop tour of my Inktober for 2023. Hello, and here I am with Procreate open. I don't use Procreate on my YouTube channel very much, but it is a program that I use most often for digital art. This process though will work in anything, so if you're using Critter or Photoshop or anything like that, the same principles apply. Basically what I've done is I've opened a canvas, just a screen size canvas, and I've imported the picture of the image onto its own layer. Now you can see from this, because this was taken with my phone and uploaded to Instagram, the lighting wasn't great, so actually there is some colour on the actual paper itself. I've gone ahead and set this first as a multiply layer because we're going to be colouring underneath it, but I want to get rid of everything on here that isn't kind of useful, so I'm going to go around with my freehand selection tool, and I'm gonna go and basically just clean up all of this so that I can delete the outside edges. So once I've done that, which might take me a little while because this has got a complex edge geometry, I'll be back and I'll show you what our next step is. Okay, so now this is all cut out. There's one more step that I need to do. You might notice that I've cut out the ships as well, but I'm going to add all of that afterwards. I want to duplicate this layer, and then on this one I'm going to use this as my background. So I'm going to put this to normal and create a layer on top. I'm going to set this as a clipping mask. I'm going to paint over the top of that. There we go. So now we have this. If I turn this back on, we have that. So we have our piece floating on a black background. In fact, where is this little dot down here coming from? It must be on here. Let's just do a little erase. There we go. Much better. Right, I don't want this background to be fully black though. I'm going to go slightly blue purple. Like this, maybe a little bit darker desaturated. There we are. And basically I'm going to, well, first of all I'm going to set all of these to a group. Those together, because then if I want to take the group and move and scale everything, I can. It's not going to lose everything. So in fact I might just bring that there like that. There we go, much better. But now I'm going to hide this group because I want to paint the background. Okay, so now we've got our galaxy in place. Let's properly position where we want our space station to be. So I'm thinking, yeah, more like that. And I think we're going to have some overlay of clouds on this as well. But now it is time to colour this. So I'm going to start. Actually, I'm going to make this easier on myself, and I'm going to go to a gradient map. I quite like the noir, I quite like the mystic as well. There we go, so we've kind of got this overlay, and then on top of this, I'm just going to start adding details. I'm going to set this to a clipping mask, go to a brush. I want some texture in this as well. Let's have a look what we've got. Okay, so we're getting to the point now where I want to start adding some more, just a little bit more detail, particularly with kind of lighting and stuff like that. So we've got all these little lights all over here. So I'm going to get working on that in a new layer so that we can add some bloom effects and things like that. And let me see what I've got. There we go. I'm not too displeased with this, although I do feel like I want to move. And this is the beauty of having everything on layers in a group, is that you can move it all around and resize as you want it. There we go. I think that's what we want. So I do still need to put in the couple of spaceships and a little bit more fog and detail. So I'm going to do all of that, and I will show you the final result in just a moment. And there we go, all completed, just a little bit of work later, and I've got something that actually I really rather like. So I already enjoyed the original ink drawing, and this has just taken it to another level. So I'm hoping that you can see it doesn't have to stop with Inktober. You can take those pieces and you can expand on them and do any more. I might leave this as a download for my Patreon so that they can have this piece, but I will leave a picture of it at the end as well so that you can see it in all of its glory. As always, I really hope you've enjoyed today's video, and until next time, goodbye.